It's been, what, 48 hours or so since I mentioned Lindsay Ellis, the nostalgia chick, in relevance to the brewing wokest civil war, and how further left will use the tools of the far left to cancel it. And now, Lindsay Ellis has announced that she is quitting the internet. Now, you are of course free to use this as yet further evidence of my omnipotence, because I am omnipotent, but rather than simply just inflating my already sizable ego, this is an excellent opportunity to do a bit of a deep dive into the first dry run of the wokest civil war's cancel culture, because in many ways Lindsay Ellis was the canary down the coal mine. A particularly frail and emaciated canary in this case, sure, but a canary nevertheless. And I also just want to hasten to add that normally I would be far more sympathetic towards a victim of cancel culture, were it not for the fact that Lindsay Ellis happily partakes in cancel culture as well. This happened literally, well, in internet terms, mere moments before her leaving the internet on the 25th. Where this person here put up a video apparently platforming a woman who had once made a transphobic comment at some point that she's forgotten about now. And Lindsay Ellis is right there leaping on the bandwagon, saying that you should take this video down. Why? Because leaving it up is as much of a stamp of approval as onboarding her in the first place, or platforming her. Lindsay Ellis has absolutely no problems at all with cancel culture, so long as it's not aimed towards her. When it is traumatizing, you see. She is a hollow shell of a person these days. It is a very, very, very long and unfathomably whingy post that she has written here. And I want to point out as well that she has not truly been cancelled, not in the actual genuine sense of the word. She mentioned this herself too. It's almost funny how many people insist that I have lost nothing, because subscriber count is the only metric for success and cancel culture doesn't exist. Oh, it does, but I think you are on the receiving end of a very different kind of cancel culture than the one we're talking about. One YouTube channel chugging along on algorithmic inertia is not success, it's just an engine driving on fumes. Alright then, let's have a look at the rusted wreck of Lindsay Ellis' YouTube channel, shall we? 1.19 million subscribers, with 1.1 million views, 750,000 views, 365,000 views, 1.1 million views, 2.6 million views, 1.7 million views. As somebody who is actually on the receiving end of the YouTube stiffy, Lindsay, allow me to reassure you, you are not getting screwed. And if you are, then please, Mummy Susan, fuck me too. Because if this is what fumes looks like, I'll take some of it. I absolutely will. I won't even complain about it, I promise. And her Patreon too. Her Patreon equally so is just a shell, it's not going anywhere. It's just a pathetic little thing with 10,612 patrons. Yes. Pitiful, absolutely. If we assume each of them give the minimum amount here, $2, that's $20,000 per month. Lindsay, if this is your definition of failure, by God, I don't want to know what your idea of success is. Because I imagine it includes a private palace orbiting Mars. Holy shit, but anywho. We're wandering a little bit off the point here, because Lindsay Ellis' ridiculously unfounded whining, and by the way, the Patreon is still up, and she will keep it up. Why? Because apparently she has 8 people dependent on her, and also, incidentally, she hasn't told any of them that she's quitting the internet. Right, anywho, skipping past one of the most unsympathetic people in the actual universe, and getting to the bit of the actual analysis here, right? Because the Lindsay Ellis cancellation is a rather interesting one, since the thing that got her cancelled was this tweet. Let me read out the nightmare to you so you can fully soak in the terribleness. Quote, also watched Raya and the Last Dragon, and I think we need to come up with a name for this genre that is basically Avatar The Last Airbender reduxes. It's like half of all YA fantasy published in the last few years anyways. This was construed, do not ask me how, to be racist towards Asians. Allow me to repeat that. This was construed to be racist towards Asians. I mean, it's cancel culture classic right there. It is a completely innocuous thing, not even just blown out of proportions, but twisted and turned to the point of lunacy. It is like my cancellation over a Chris Rock quote. Yet nevertheless, the thing is, this wasn't actually what got Lindsay Ellis cancelled, you see. In her own words, she went to bed one night and woke up the next morning and the pitchforks and torches were hammering at her door over this tweet. I don't actually believe that was the case, because previous to this, there was another little bit of a controversy, yes, including another YouTube content creator by the name of ContraPoint. Now, this is an individual that has occasionally abused the YouTube reporting function, so we'll keep it to merely name droppings and so on. Where Lindsay Ellis defended this person, because apparently she had committed an error against leftist dogma as well, and Lindsay Ellis, who was friends with the person, defended her. This was the crime for which she would eventually be cancelled, in my opinion. This was just an excuse. Because even then, when she began pushing back like this, there's nothing wrong with this tweet, that became further reason for cancelling her. She's mentioning here that there was absolutely nothing stopping me from brushing myself up, building back up goodwill, and shutting up and playing the game. Taking your lashes, essentially, and moving on. Because in many ways, that is what happened to Lindsay Ellis. The people attacking her couldn't admit that they were wrong, because the entire fundament of leftist dogma rests upon absolute evil. You can't then simply back away from absolute evil, Asian racism in this case, and go, okay, maybe that wasn't that bad, because then you find yourself in the problem with absolute evil coexisting with absolute purity. We talked about this literally yesterday as well. And so she was expected to just, shut up and keep going, because the cancellation didn't affect her over much. I've had a look through her various timelines and comments, etc. Unless she's really, really good at going through manually and deleting everything, she's not taking a particularly large amount of flack. Hell, I could barely locate any flack at all, frankly. So, and here's another thing too. Lindsay Ellis, as she has demonstrated throughout her career as the nostalgia chick, is a rather soft individual, and in her case, the slightest amount of criticism is quite likely to probably tip her off balance, as well has been demonstrated here. It is testament to just how mild the critique has been that it took 6 months for her to throw up her hands and leave the internet. Alternatively, this might also simply just be a ploy. I believe she has received something along the lines of another 1,000 patrons since making this announcement. It might be that she's doing the cynical route and going, I am leaving, I am traumatized, oh by the way, I've got a book coming out soon, and then 6 months later, hi, I'm back. Possible, but for all the negative things I will heap upon Lindsay Ellis endlessly, she doesn't really strike me as the cynical individual. The passive-aggressive one, absolutely. The churlish and melodramatic one, oh god, yes, but I never really felt the cynical approach. Maybe that's just me and my own naivete, but nevertheless. Though, again, what is so interesting about all of this is that this took 6 months to finally bear fruit, shall we say. It's a bit of a mean metaphor, really, honestly. But I believe that this is how we're going to be seeing a lot of the cancel culture play out as well. Somebody's going to be accused of something. It'll be ridiculous, it'll be absurd, it'll be a big storm in the moment, and it'll kind of die down. But due to the inability of these people to ever actually leave anything alone, and a lot of these people having extraordinarily fragile egos as well, a bit of a side effect of being far left in my opinion. And again, I believe a lot of this stems from the problem with squaring the circle. How can you have absolute evil and absolute purity? How can you be the good guy who can do nothing wrong, thereby justifying, again, engaging in the very things you repeatedly condemn because you're doing it against the bad guy, and yet also justify their being the bad guy? I imagine that will lead to a great deal of cognitive dissonance that will wear away at a person over the course of months, maybe even years. I think it will probably be a somewhat slow process, with the exception of the occasional massive blow-up here and there. And a lot of it will depend upon the creator's personality and their ability to, just ignore everything and keep on trucking. Incidentally, I believe this is one of the reasons why Hassan Piker, for example, will remain to the bitter end, because he strikes me as the kind of person who is simply too stupid to realize when he's getting screwed. And again, here's the thing too. Lindsay Ellis, looking at her channel, looking at her Patreon, if this is what being cancelled looks like to a leftist, my God, what will they say when actual cancellations begin hitting their ranks, as they most assuredly will? The panicked cry will be loud and cringe-inducing indeed. And personally, I'm quite looking forward to it. Until next time, I have been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Until then, have a good day.